In today's Friday Thought, we're going to be discussing Q4 and is it dead or has it been changed ultimately as we know it going forward? Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Reseller Niche Podcast, a show for e-commerce buyers and sellers where we investigate unique items being bought and sold and show you how research equals knowledge equals profit.
Welcome back. My name is Mo, and I'm the host here, and this is the Reseller Niche Podcast. In today's Friday Thought, I wanted to discuss Q4 in general as we see it right now compared to the past and its current relevance. Is it dying? Has it already begun a slow death? Or is it just a temporary lapse where, due to the circumstances, we'll say, things have kind of changed a little bit? So, reason I started thinking about this is when I logged on today and I read a few news articles. The first one that popped up was one about Apple. Actually, there were a couple about Apple. They've been doing really, really well this year, obviously. They had a stock split. They also were, they've just released a new iPhone. And what they were saying was, sales have been going through the roof. But what they've noticed is year over year for this month, for iPhone specifically, sales have declined. Now, that could just be, a few years coming. I know last year they didn't have the sales that they wanted for their iPhones. It may not have anything to do with Q4 or COVID. It may just be a decline in that specific product. Also, apparently they introduced new products, new iPads and iMacs, I believe, or Macs, I believe. So that could have played into it. So maybe I'm reading too much into one product. But so I started reading a little bit more and I wanted to take a look at Black Friday. Black Friday is generally part of Q4, usually right around Thanksgiving. And this year it actually falls on November 27th here in the US. So it's usually a day where a lot of businesses, companies, especially retail, get out of the red. And, it's a good sales day, especially for us resellers. We're kind of in the other end. We're rushing around a lot of times with multiple carts, getting a lot of eyes on us while we're buying millions of products, what seems like millions of products, a lot more than the average person. And I used to do that a few years back. I'm not as crazy on Black Friday buying as I used to be. I've spread out my buys to where I go in and I check out things. I'm not sure if I'll go specifically in this year, but Black Friday wasn't as crazy last year as it was in previous years. Anyways, so that is something I wanted to focus on. So I did a little bit of research and I looked up a site called blackfriday.com. So I figured they would know what they're talking about. So I wanted to see what their views were on Black Friday this year, 2020. What's coming out, what's going to happen, what we should expect. And right at the very top, and I quote, it says, "Not canceled, but it will look different," which is basically what I've been thinking the whole time. They went on to say that sales will begin earlier this year. Obviously, every year they're beginning earlier and earlier. Obviously, the previous years. And there'll be very few in-store events, sales, activities of any kind. Amazon and Walmart will be the two biggest duking it out. Obviously, because of their physical and online presences, they can do a lot with that. And I guess because of COVID, obviously, most stores will be closed. Big box stores I'm talking about will be closed physically on Black Friday. So that's including Walmart, Target, Kohl's, Best Buy, and I'm sure there's a bunch of others. But most importantly, they predicted that spending will be down due to COVID. And they were actually talking about online sales here. I thought they were just including them. They're actually talking about online sales. So they had a breakdown of the numbers, and going back 5 years, year over year, there's always been an increase. So apparently last year, online totals for spending were about 11.9 billion on Black Friday and Thanksgiving combined. So what they estimated this year is that it'll be closer to about 11 billion, which is about a 7.5% decrease, which is might not sound huge, even though it is. But for the last year over year turnout increase, was about 20% each year. And some years were like closer to 50%. Last year was about a 20% increase year over year online Black Friday / Thanksgiving sales. So that to me was kind of what I was thinking the whole time, actually, when I was writing this whole thing. So if they're thinking this, and we're seeing it with certain companies that sales, maybe it's not necessarily that they're down, they're kind of being shifted around, then maybe this is a thing. Maybe Q4 as we know it has been altered and possibly forever. So as Black Friday's obviously going to start earlier, we've noticed the shift as resellers all year. And, even previous years, if you talk about Black Friday, they used to not be open physically on Black Friday than they were. Then the sales started earlier, sometimes a day, then a week, and so on. COVID has sped this whole thing up. And it wasn't just Black Friday, though, we're talking about here. We're talking about like Amazon Day. It didn't happen in July this year like it usually does. It was in October, I think October 13th and 14th. So a lot of people I know, me personally as well as resellers, have been experiencing sales that were good throughout the year. I'm talking about March, April, May, June, July. Usually those summer months when it's not really a dip, but it's kind of a lull. It's slower, obviously less people buying. Usually people are on vacation. That didn't happen this year. Again, maybe that's just this year, I don't know. But I'm just thinking out loud. These are it's kind of like the smoothing over of sales, the spreading out over the year. So online sales in general, for me, have been up all year long. And so what I'm thinking is that buyers, once you start doing this, once a buyer figures out, and they already say that only 15% of people buy online right now anyway. Once that number starts increasing and people start to develop those buying habits online, to where it's not just, I'm going to buy in November so I can get my Christmas presents. I'm going to, buy around Mother's Day. I'm sure all those days will still remain and there'll still be an uptick. But I'm thinking it's going to be spread out. Maybe not as extreme as this year. But for example, Amazon Day, I think it's going to come back in July again next year. It started as 1 day. Maybe it will be 2 days. I'm sorry. It started as 1 day. It is 2 days now. Excuse me. But what if it turns into 3 or 4 days or a week, Amazon week? I wouldn't put them past it to do something like that. Maybe they'll have it twice a year. If it happens next July, then, that's only like 6-7 months from October. So who knows? And I'm guessing a lot of companies, if they had the clout that Amazon did, they would copy them and do the same exact thing. Most of them just kind of do things around the same time. eBay, I think 2 years ago, tried to copy. They had like the anti-Amazon thing, whatever they did, which I thought was funny because they should be doing their own thing. But anyways, that's a separate issue. I'm guessing, I'm not guessing, the predictions are for 2021 that unfortunately a lot of the situations with us are with certain people staying at home will continue. So a lot of people are going to be buying online, buying at home, and you're going to be seeing a shift from buying specifically on specific dates to spreading out those purchases to when they need them, budgeting and saying, I need to buy this now, as opposed to, whatever specific day they're talking about, like a Mother's Day and Thanksgiving Day or whatever. So this shift, and in my very long-winded way of saying it, I don't think it's going to necessarily kill Q4. It's going to dilute it, though. And I think this 2020 is it's basically, it's cracked the egg, and it's going to dilute online sales to where it's not crazy Q4 anymore. It's an uptick in Q4, something that you look forward to. You get more sales, but I think spread out throughout the year, you're going to have these mini upticks and mini sales and mini increase in sales as resellers, that is. So anyway, so I'm starting to ramble. That was my thought though for Friday. How have your Q4 sales been going? Mine probably started, I don't know. It feels like my Q4 sales started months ago. But even in October, I've noticed a pretty sizable increase. So what about you guys? How have your sales been going? Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you think this is just a blip just because of COVID and 2021 going forward? It's going to go back to, slow summers and crazy Q4s all packed into a couple months? Let me know. Leave us a comment. We have the Reseller Niche Podcast Facebook group. If you'd like to join, send us a message. I'll add you to the group. Also, if we could ask you to leave us a message on Apple, those reviews really, really help push this show forward so other people can hear it. But until the next one, I just want to say thank you for listening to the Reseller Niche Podcast. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Reseller Niche Podcast. Show notes and social media links are located at resellerniche.com. Please comment, rate, and subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.